Here we are then. Here we are. That's all okay. Testing, all that kind of thing. 1, 2, 3. How we doing? Woo! I am firing on all cylinders, top of the world, feeling 20 years younger, and all those sorts of things. Because that's the kind of guy I am. I just flap and flip and flop from feeling completely decrepit to 1 minute and then completely fine the next. No, I think I'm just on a general decrepit trajectory overall, but I'll try to keep positive about it. Just let me do a little bit of adjustment here. I have a persistent fly which has decided to join us this evening, which is fun. But do let me know that you can hear me in the chat. That's very helpful, just to give me a poke. So I won't say anything really interesting until I've heard that. But as far as I can see, I've got greens going on in places. I've got "we hear you," says Tanith VQ. That's great. Congratulations on all the purple crowns. Nobody knows what that's about, but it's a fun thing to have knocking around. So here we are. Welcome to Molten Chat. If you've never been here before, then you're very welcome to kick your shoes off and join in whatever it is that this becomes. It's often an opportunity to talk about subjects of the last month or so, from the Molten Monthly, potentially, to talk about gear and things that have come up there. Perhaps a little bit of that. We also tend to look at bits and pieces. I've got something on here I decided that I might like to do that might be interesting. I don't know, difficult to say. There it is. I might leap at some point and try to swat it. Anyway, live and let live. Oh yeah, so yeah, we might have a fiddle with something. I don't have anything spectacular or particularly spanking new to show you, although I do have a few things here that I'm working on for reviews. What was that plugged into? I don't know, but it's really in the way. You may have noticed that I've moved the Big 6 mixer. It's no longer there. I mean, you can't see, but look, it's no longer there. How about that? The funny thing about it is that I often do, I mean, this is what I'm finding out about myself after all this time. I often do things with an intention for it to lead to things, Like, for instance, I've had my guitar amp set up on a guitar amp stand, as if to say, hey, I'm going to plug this in and play with it. And I never have, and it's been sat there in that position for about 2, 3, possibly 5 years. Ooh, crikey. Thanks, Steve. What am I doing? Yes, so anyway, so I decided just to move it, and it's just given me a whole load more space over there, because I never actually turn my amp on ever, except when I'm out playing guitar with it, obviously. Same was happening with the Big 6. While it's a lovely, great big mixer, I love its presence, I love its position, I love the way it potentially could let me hook up really quickly to the open reel tape machine, and all of those things. I have not done anything like that. All I ever use it for is a stereo output of whatever it is I'm playing, sort of hardwired in the back. And so it's like, why am I yet letting this desk dominate this space when I'm just not using it? And there's things falling on it. I'm starting to lose fader caps, just general crap. So in an effort to try to reclaim my space, I've just moved it, and it's sat over there on the floor propping something up. Which is terrible, really, but I will think of something to do with it later on. I was thinking maybe I could mount it somewhere and still use it. We shall see. But it's lovely having a little bit more desktop again. I don't feel crowded in. I feel I can breathe, and all of this is a very positive thing. So yeah, that's the sort of thing we talk about. Any old rubbish, really. Anything that comes up. A little bit of mild personal abuse, as I disagree with whoever it is who's commenting on something or other. We do have things like that we could talk about, and that sort of stuff. Rent it out, says Steve. Now there's an idea. Yeah, well, potentially, yeah. Get it, flip. Look, I have enormous spiders in this shed. Why is it they can't deal with this thing? That's what I want to know. I'll be right into the spider guild. Anyway, let's say hello to a few people. Hello, few people. How you doing? Good to see you. Mr. Coit, Mr. Cal, I'm saying Mr. I have no clue, in fact. So Commander Steve, Emperor Tintin, Serpent Synth Society. Hi, how you doing? What? Yes, I don't even know. Who was first in? Frank, good to see you. Alchem Mantra. Yay! Tanith, you were the one to tell me how you could hear me. Nick, good to see you. Swagger. Steve. Keith in Watford. Is that what that is? Is your name Keith and you're in Watford? I mean, I might have only just twigged that for the first time. Watford's got a bridge and a tunnel. It's very exciting. Used to have an electronics place that I used to buy a load of gear from. I wonder if it's still there. Anyway, I'm sure there's more to it than that. Great to see you, everyone. Donald Duck's in the chat. Sorry if I've missed you, but you're just gonna have to shout louder. Good. Hi. Man with bread. Hi. Oh, is it long gone? But it was like the only employer for miles around. That didn't have a ski slope. Wasn't that the other thing that Watford had? I mean, bizarrely. But I could be making that up. Are you using the reel-to-reel tape thing? No, I'm really not. And it pains me. I mean, I love it. I love it sitting there. Oh, I look at it and I go, that's just amazing. But it's been in pause now, probably for a couple of years. So I imagine that the tape has done terrible things to the heads, or the head's done terrible things to the tape. I'm almost scared to look at it. But it's a beautiful thing. I love it. I love its existence. And I aspire to the idea that I may yet record some music. I mean, I'm feeling that a lot lately, that I really could be making music. I mean, some of that is because one feels this creative drive to get stuff out there, but also because I'm listening to a lot of music at the moment, and I feel like I could do that more and more. I mean, I've always felt that, I think. Whenever I was listening to any indie bands as a kid, I thought, I could do that. Get my guitar out. Sort of I could. But at the moment, I'm listening to lots of electronic music. I'm going to electronic music gigs, which is great, and I'm enjoying all of that. And I was just sort of sitting there listening, going, I know those sounds. I know how to do that. I could do that. Why don't I do that? I mean, I had to write a piece of music this week for a friend of mine's little film, which was great, and I really enjoyed that, the process of having to write music. What was I going to say this? And I don't know why I started that train of thought. I don't know, maybe just to say that it came out really well. It was really good. I think I'm good at this. I should do more of this. Oh yeah, no, that's the thing. I found myself sort of layering up so much stuff, flicking through plugins and trying lots of different things out, and realizing that then when I listen to sort of released music, people really only do one or two things. In a real piece of music. I mean, in this piece of music, I packed in 50 different things going on, 50 different sounds and swirling and delays and yet another plug-in and blah 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 blah. But really, you only need a couple of things. And often when I'm particularly listening to the modular music, you can go, oh yeah, no, that I can tell that they're using that particular module, and they're just spending time on that, and it's moving about, and it's nice. It's like I was trying a couple of plugins because I was doing this on the computer inevitably, because that's the only place you can actually write music for a client. Realistically, unless you're really flying by the seat of your pants. And there was lots and lots of plugins that could do pretty much everything and anything, and you could sit down and play with them by themselves, and that was quite interesting. And I feel like I need to do that. What I need to do, I think the way to crack the making music and actually doing something to record onto my tape machine is to keep it simple, is have a couple of ideas and work on that idea. It doesn't have to be endlessly changing and endlessly layered. I could do a 5-minute piece that builds up and builds away, and that would be all right. People would perhaps like to listen to that, and I'd like to spend some time doing that. Sadly, just at the moment, I have no time at all. I have, in a moment of crazy awesomeness, I have just taken on some extra work because, you know, I need to, sadly, and which is brilliant. And I'm really getting into this work, but it's just eaten all my time away. It's just gone. I have no time this week for anything at all. It's really disturbing, but I'm into it. And it's also my birthday this week. And in fact, I'm going away on my birthday, which is really interrupting this work I have to do, which is a pain in the arse. Anyway, when's the next Synth Picnic? Our Seven Serpent Synth Society 658. Well, let me tell you, 777 Item Road 658. It is on Saturday, the 13th of December. So it's a couple of weeks. Not even that. Yeah, no, a couple of weeks from now. Yes, so 2 weeks yesterday. So I have just enough time to fit in this mad piece of intense work I have to do, and then I can think about the Synth Picnic. So I haven't actually been able to do all the things I hope to do in preparation for the Synth Picnic. I had hoped to do some videos on the Herbs and Stone stuff, which I will get to, in order just to unpack it a little bit so people know what they're coming to play on. That would be good. I haven't had the chance to do it yet. But let's talk about the Synth Picnic for a couple of minutes then. So I will be taking along the Astro Lab, which I've actually taken it to the house. I've given it to my boy Arthur to play on because he was looking. He's doing a music GCSE, and he has to do a composition where he's got to layer up a couple of different sounds, and so that seemed perfect. The really interesting thing with it, because he doesn't, you know, he has a massive interest in music and has a lot of natural talent, but he doesn't really spend enough time in working out how things work. He likes to go on to the next thing, which is fair enough. There's lots of shiny things just around the corner, but he's brilliant at what he does, but he has no concept of the idea of how you make music in the way that we would. Perhaps he's got no experience in using DAWs. They don't use them at school as far as I can work out, and so that train of thought into how do I build something up is quite difficult to grasp. Now he does have some experience with Studio One, but most of that experience is fussing over how to get his keyboard he's got attached to it and what it is that's playing the sound. It's this thing where dealing with MIDI and audio is still a massive problem to people who don't know. I mean, I've thought about, every now and again I think about doing a video on it, because it's still a problem. I mean, I've got over here, right? No, I've lost it. Oh, darn it. I thought I had. Do I not have a copy? Hang on. No, evidently not. I thought I had a copy. No. Oh, never mind then. Anyway, what I was going to say is I wrote a book, right, about how to make music on a computer. I wrote it in like 1999, long time ago. And I've done numerous versions of that since. And it's amazing, really, that it's still a problem, because how do you try to explain to someone who hasn't figured it out that the sound that's coming out of their keyboard, that you're recording the notes of into the computer, isn't then coming out of the computer? It's not the sound that's coming out of the computer, it's the notes that are coming out of the computer. Oh, good Lord, thank you, mate. That's very, very kind. Good grief. Oh, wow. That's amazing. That's worth a shirt. But no, I know what you're saying, but I'm just saying, anyway, I will keep it to make sure that it funds more marketing materials. That would be great. Thank you. What was I saying? About how do we visualize and understand that? The problem is, every time I sit down to try to think about formulating a video on absolute basics, is one, I just don't have the time, and it's like, I'm trying to fit this in, because I've got lots of other things I have to be doing for other people, and that's more of a thing that I do for myself. The second thing is that the internet, the world, the smart people are forever telling me that I need to do that as a course. Then I need to sell it as a course, as a way of of raising some revenue and supporting the channel and that sort of thing, which is a sound good idea, although at the same time I don't like the barrier to access that also brings with it. And then you're stuck spending 6 months trying to work out how much to charge. Should you be charging $5 in order to give access to everyone and then have 100,000 users, or do you need to only have 5 users but you're charging $5,000? You see, that's where the smart money is. I don't know. Anyway, it's just interesting to me how this is still an issue and still worth talking about. And people, I'm still getting, particularly one thing that's coming out of Synth Picnic is that I'm having some kind of basic level conversations again, which I haven't had, for a long time really. And it's the sort of thing you have on a shop floor, in a music shop, or when I'm making more basic level videos about stuff, particularly when I was making videos on the Surface and DAW software. You get a lot of people asking these basic questions, and I really feel that I need to do this. It's like with my Eurorack journey, my modular journey, which is a fascinating set of videos without a doubt, but it's a series of videos about discovery. It's not really saying this is what you need to do, and people, I feel, still need that help. There are some videos out there, of course there are, but I think I could do it well. But again, it's like my mind's going, you've got to turn it into a series, and then you've got to turn that into a revenue stream. I find that frustrating. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, that's a train of thought. Thank you for enjoying my What's It. That's lovely of you. Oh, you use Cubase. Funny old business at my son's school about music. I don't quite, these things. Well, I've got absolutely every respect and every sympathy for teaching and teachers. I have a wife who's a teacher, and I completely get it, how difficult it is. People often say to me, hey, why don't you go to your local college or school and offer courses and show them a bit of Modular and stuff. Yeah, they don't have time for that. They don't have time for me. They don't have time for me to turn up and speak to me about the possibility of the thing that I could do. Trying to offer a school a body of work on something which isn't absolutely core and isn't already in their wheelhouse, as it were, is they can't. There's no bandwidth to cope with that sort of thing. It's just not a possibility. Much as I would love to do a little tour of Norfolk schools or colleges and bits and pieces and do stuff, there just isn't the space. And so some of these well-equipped music technology labs just get to play on GarageBand and Ableton Light and they make beats and then they write about composers, and then that's about as far as it gets. Anyway, so Synth Picnic. So that's the 13th of December coming up. I will be taking, as I say, I'll be taking the Astro Lab. I have been talking to Sequential and other people about some possibilities, but I haven't been able to follow that up yet. So I don't yet know if I'll have something else exciting to bring along. I will try to send out some feelers this week just to see if I can score something else. Otherwise, it's also going to be the return of my first modular rental, which is very exciting. Will it come back? Will it be in one piece? All those sorts of questions are good and interesting questions. Yeah. The rental side of Synth Picnic is full of bags of potential. It's just quite. I can see how it's also a difficult thing just to get off the ground. I would love it to become something that people were able to do or felt able to do. It's a great way of supporting the day, as well as a great way of taking away something interesting and having a play on it. Maybe, I don't know, we're just going to have to keep on plugging away at it for the moment. I have penciled in January and February, which then leads us into Synth East, of course, to see how well it goes. see if it's too hard work. But I mean, hey, Keith with his 50 quid, that's just brilliant. That will absolutely chivvy us along into the idea of doing it again and again and again. So that's really cool. And also, I mean, you should give us a shout if there's something particular that you think I have that you want me to bring along. I mean, I've been thinking a lot about the modular that I bring, because at the moment I'm taking the 3 little fantastic little boxes I'm taking, which are brilliant but underappreciated at the moment. But I also bring my current case, which is ever changing. But I was thinking that I could, there are other things I could bring. I have a good collection of modular. There's other bits and pieces I could bring. If people are particularly interested in a particular thing, they should say, and then I will try to bring that along. Or I can just keep changing it every month, so it's something a little bit different, which of course all takes a chunk of work. Hi Cornish Waves. People talking about what they've bought for Black Friday. Well done. I bought an Xbox controller because all ours are broken. Oh, and I did get a birthday voucher from Joe Brown's, so I've procured a new shirt, which I'll wear on my birthday, which is nice. But they wouldn't let me use the Black Friday code at the same time. Yeah, such is life. Such is these things. Yeah, Callum's here saying just started with DAW, don't even know how to move on the timeline. Yes, exactly. I mean, one of the things is finding a platform that works. Because I mean, I do a lot of writing about Studio One, and so I tend to lean into that a bit. And it used to have a good free version, but that's now gone. Now, let me just look something up. What did I? Where's best to look this up? So. Boo, 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 boo. Okay, just looking at the best free DAW, right? Traction free. Yeah, maybe traction free, but I mean that's not the easiest in the world. But that's a possibility, because you need something which people can actually get hold of and use, that's not going to cost them any money, that will stay relatively the same without getting too complicated. Traction's pretty cool. It's just I don't know, it's a little bit upside down and backwards sometimes. See, that's best DAW. Best free DAWs I want. See, I wrote one of these. Where is it? Why does it not come up? There's the best DAWs. Yeah, let's see, I put Traction Waveform Free as the best free DAW. I mean, there's Universal Audio Luna. I mean, I quite like that because it just looks so cool. But I don't know, it doesn't come with a whole lot of stuff, and the MIDI is kind of a little bit basic. Oh, it's now got AI powered tools. Great. To make recording easier. Fantastic. Let's do that. Excellent. AI powered voice control. There you go. You can say start recording, provided that your song lyrics doesn't start with start recording, you're away. Or perhaps if your song starts stop recording, and then that'd be the end of that. That's interesting. Luna 2.0. When did that come in? Doobie-doobie-doo. It's free, unlimited tracks, Oxide, Aura support, instrument detection, voices. Does it support VST plugins? That was my only question. Why am I talking to you about all this? I don't know. I don't know that it does. Oh, there's a pro. Look at that. There's a pro. Ah, you knew it was too good to be true. Too good to be true. Oh, I'll have to look at that. But I don't have the time for this. I don't have the time to sit down and do a introduction to a DAW, but I really should. That's what I should be doing. That's what I should be doing. Because, I mean, what I'm finding at the moment with my workload, I mean, I'm sorry, I'm just running on, but then, hey, this is my show. I guess that's what I do. What time is it? Probably time for a beer. So what I'm finding, okay, in my existence as a part-time YouTuber is that lovely people send me things, which is lovely. It's a fabulously privileged position to be in. But I'm finding that I'm having to spend all of my time that I have spare doing little videos on their gear, which is great. That's the point. That's absolutely the point. Don't get me wrong. I'm not moaning about it. I'm just saying that all my time is taken up with that. And I have more gear than I possibly can ever find the time to do, which means I'm in a perpetual state of feeling like I'm disappointing someone who sent me something which is precious to them that I just haven't gotten around or hadn't had the time to do. It's like Twig from Divergent Waves, right? Sent me the wonderful Sycamore like a year ago, and I finally got around to building it, made a right hash of making the kit. But now I actually have the thing together, but it's taken me so long. And they've sent me the companion module, which I actually have to solder into it, or solder a little thing to it, which I need to get done. But can I find the time? And it's literally sitting here as the next thing to do. You know, even though I've got 4 other next things to do that I said I was going to do next, sitting around here as well. It's slightly maddening. And while I want to do those videos, and I feel those things are important, and I desperately want to support the industry and the manufacturers, and, you know, promote people's gear, give an opinion, it just means I never have any time to do things which might be of a broader interest. You know, it's like I squeezed out my best budget synths video last week because it had been a whole year since I'd done one of those, and it's, you know, it has 10 times the views of my little DIY project on some module, and literally the revenue on Google, on YouTube rather, doubles. It doubles when I do one of those videos. You know, I'm scraping by on a couple of $100 out of YouTube, and then I do a best budget synths video, and suddenly it's $400, and the number of subscribers has doubled. You know, there are ways of doing good content which are ultimately beneficial to supporting the channel, and I need to do that. So doing something like how to start off with a DAW, how to make music with a MIDI controller, you know, all those sorts of things are useful, and people will continue to watch them. And I need to find the time. I need to work out how I can organise myself in order to do those. And I need to blast through on a load of stuff I've got backing up, you know. But these are my problems. These are not your problems. I'm just kind of talking about it, trying to get these things straight in my head, you know. And then perhaps I could do a video on the reel-to-reel, and I could do a video on the Deckar's Dream, and I could do lots and lots and lots of things. Lots of things. But I mean, it's also that thing that when you start peeling back the layers, you know, let's do a get started in Eurorack course. That's actually a lot. And to do it in one video would be impossible. You're going to have to break that down into a series of maybe 6 videos. You're probably starting in VCV rack before you even talk about the hardware. And then you've got to talk about cases and HP and, you know, floating nuts and all this kind of stuff. There's lots and lots to talk about before you even talk about getting a synthesizer voice. And then, because it's Eurorack, your first few modules are rubbish. The whole thing sounds rubbish. You know, it takes a while before your little collection of Modular starts revealing its beauty and awesomeness. You know, that takes some time. Do you see what I mean? Same with you talking about basics in MIDI and audio. You've got to talk about MIDI and audio at a very dry, boring level in order to just understand that, you know, MIDI is data, but then also audio is data, but it's data that we end up listening to, whereas MIDI we don't listen to, but you do listen to it because it triggers stuff that you do listen to, and it triggers stuff in your computer via MIDI, via a cable, but it's not a cable. Is it a USB cable? Oh no, it's some other cable, you know. Well, Frank, thank you very much. Good Lord. I must just run on about crazy stuff more often by the sound of things. Well, it's very, very kind. Oh. Steve, that's a very good question about upgrading Ableton Live. I can't answer it for you. However, I would say that Ableton Live is pretty brilliant. Version 12 is pretty awesome. You know, I've used that more than I had for a long time because of some of the bits and pieces in there, which I can't tell you off the top of my head, but that's good. A lot of people want to know the basics. Yeah, it's definitely a worthwhile thing. Definitely a worthwhile thing. The beer. I like the tin of the Brooklyn Brewery Stonewall Inn IPA. I also got some zero alcohol tins of theirs as well. Probably going to get some more, I imagine. You were collecting ARP 2500 clones. Well, my 2500 system is what has been rented out, and I'm hoping to hear from Alex, I think it is, what he thought of it, because he's taken it away for a month. I hope he's had some fun with it, because I never really got into it, and I have spent a couple of hours staring at it going, I don't really know what's going on. I get the oscillator and filter business, but the mod VCA and the SNH, the sample and hold, noise, clock generator, and then the sequencer thing, it's all really weird stuff. Really weird stuff. And it's like, I don't have time for this. I want to move on to other things. Do a course on the disting. Yeah. I think I'd rather stab myself with very blunt things. Synth and DAW workshops would be a good idea. Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. I'm really going to have to head towards doing that. Oh, I need to do a video on the PAMS Pro. Oh yeah, that's something I was going to do this evening if we have time. Let me have a look at that. Wow, thank you, Swagger. That's amazing. You've all been extraordinarily generous this evening. I'm quite overwhelmed. That's really lovely. Thank you. Oh, you're into the 2500 mix sequencer thingy. Okay, well, fair enough. Fair enough. So anything else? Did I miss? If I've missed your comment, because I seem to have skipped down a bit now, and you're asking me a question, feel free to ask it again. Thanks very much. I appreciate it. I really do. I really do. Now, so yeah, what I thought I could do this evening, as I started doing before I told everything, I made everything start. Oh yeah, I started this whole train of thought because of my kid, right? That's right, wanting to layer sounds, and actually how difficult that is. And it's still difficult. So he was saying, do I have a way of doing that? And it's like, well, I've got a Boss looper pedal somewhere, and I can't find it. Of course I can't find it. I might have sold it. Did I sell it? I don't remember. Did I sell it at the auction I had like last year? I might have done. But trying to work out he's got the Astrolab 37. It has sounds, but you can play one thing at a time. Yeah, possibly two layered, but one thing at a time essentially. Excuse me. How does he build up some music? How do you do that? And it's like, well, that's actually really hard, because the way that I would do it naturally is I'd get out my laptop or my Surface, which is what I have here. I'd plug in an audio interface, have to install that. Then I'd plug the synth audio into the audio interface, and then I could set up a loop potentially, or just record the audio directly into the DAW, play what I wanted to play. Then I'd press stop, and then I'd rewind, and then I'd set up a loop point, and then get it looping around that, and then mess around a bit with trying to get it to loop nicely. Then set up a second track, play alongside, enable that and disable the other one so that doesn't overwrite that one, and make sure you got the sound coming out. And you're probably going to need headphones. There's a lot of faff involved in doing that, whereas a pedal, actually, it's probably a lot easier. Although, how do you get to listen to that? Where do you plug the headphones in? Because on a pedal, it's just going to be going in and it's going to be going out again. Into what? Into where? See, that's complicated. So I was saying to him, well, I could set up your computer to do this. And he's like, well, I don't want to. Like I said, he's fallen out of love with the idea of you in Studio One because of the complexity, even though it's easy, really, but because of the complexity between he's got a little home keyboard, a Casio keyboard, plugging that into that, and where's the sound coming from, what sounds is he using, all of that gets complicated and stupid. So trying to find just a simple way, and I'm thinking, well, I need a double tape deck. And that's how I used to do it when I was his age. I used my dad's hi-fi, and I used two tape decks. Stick one in play, one in record onto one, swap the tapes over, another tape, record, play alongside. That's how I built up tracks. And I was thinking, now that must be easy to do these days. I thought, of course, a phone app. Brilliant. Use a phone app. But that's not as simple as you think either, because you get like, Loopy or something like that, which is great. And you hit the first circle and you play, and it's recording it on the crap mic. And then you go, great, I can record the next thing. You play it back and it's playing out of the crap speaker in the iPhone. And then you hit the next loop and you play along, and it's recording the sound that's making, plus the sound that you can hear, all on top of itself onto the next thing, getting all distorted. So it's like, oh, well, you can't do it that way. You've got to have it on headphones, and then you're going to need some sort of device to record into, to plug into the iPhone. And there's very few devices that you can do that on that have the right power to support doing that. And then your battery's going to drain. You're going to need to have some sort of adapter to plug on. It's just like, oh God, why is this so hard? Where is my double tape deck, which would just make this easy, Do you know what I mean? Do you feeling my pain that I have this kid who just wants to make some music, and the barriers to that, even though we have access to the most extraordinary sound systems and studio equipment, that it's still so difficult. Why is it? And to get a decent looper of some sort, you end up with this enormous foot pedal thing, the Boss looper that Ed Sheeran uses or whatever. And it's, again, impossibly complicated, great big huge bit of hardware. Why can't I have a tape-to-tape machine? Simple overdubbing. Why is that not a thing? Why is that? I mean, maybe it is a thing. Is it a thing? Is it what you find? Is that what that teenage engineering thing is? Is that a thing that does that? Or, I mean, it's difficult, isn't it? I'm quite boggled by it, and my brain's not quite understanding why this is difficult. It shouldn't be. It should be easy. But it's not. It's really not. It's really not. Sebastian, thank you. I don't have a translate button. I'm just going to assume you're being lovely. Yeah, Porta Track. Yeah, absolutely, a 4-track Porta Studio. I mean, ultimately, there's like Zoom recorders, aren't they? Multi-track recorders that you could use. Um, they just seem so heavily featured and multifaceted. When you just want something quite simple. I mean, digitally, surely something that you can easily loop. I mean, as I say, the pedal loopers, but there kind of has to be something less pedally, doesn't there? I must be imagining things. Yeah, see, GarageBand on iPad with an audio interface. Yes, but you have to get that audio interface installed, and that's hard. I only have a 3rd generation iPad, which has the big fat connector. There's nothing that works with that anymore. So that's no good. And an iPad is like, what, £500? So that's a big investment. People like to talk about iPads as if you just have one. It's one of those things you just happen to have. But it's a major investment, and then a major ball ache to try to get it to work. And then Apple will just make everything not work, just for funds. That's what I found. I mean, I've got over here. Yeah, IK Multimedia kept sending me these sort of iStream little iRig boxes, which are brilliant. They're brilliant. And when I first used their first iStream, it's one of my biggest videos. I did it just as COVID hit and everyone was trying to live stream, and I showed people how to do that properly. And it was great and really, really helpful. And then Apple changed things and it kind of no longer worked. And then Instagram changed things and that no longer worked either. And it's kind of like you're pulling your hair out. Why do these things have to change? And you plug it in, it's not powered, and then suddenly it is powered, then it's not powered, then it is powered. Oh, I don't know. And then I had problems with my phone because I wanted to, because I don't know if you know this, but I am on TikTok these days under the name Synth Picnic. I thought that might be fun, and it's actually remarkably fun. Not looking at TikTok, because that's just a cesspit of disaster, but being on it is quite good fun. Anyway, I wanted to make some videos directly to TikTok from bits and pieces, and so I hooked the iStream thing, a bit like this, up to the mixer. But my phone, because of its charging port being a little bit dodgy, it just couldn't successfully last a minute without disconnecting itself. The technology trips us up all the time, constantly. I'm going to have to go on a little mission to find a loopy recorder now, and then somehow work out how they can send me one for free. Yeah. Pigtronics Infinity. Okay. But is it just a pedal, or does it have like headphones and useful things so you can hear what's going on? I'll have to look that up. That Roland looper seems to be the thing. Yeah, it's just a bit sort of like chunky, isn't it? Tascam Digital 6-track. Okay. The 2 HP sampler. Yeah. Yeah. People don't listen to me. Yeah, it's not getting the stems off or anything. It's just literally been able to do sound on sound, as somebody mentioned, sound on sound recording. That simple, Doesn't have to be complicated. So my mind's going now. It's like that new Zoom L6 Max or whatever. Can that do it? I mean, I know it can record to the SD card, which is brilliant, multi-tracking, great. But does it do sound on sound looping? I don't know. I mean, what things I don't need it to pretend to emulate tape degradation or anything like that. You just actually want it to function. And ideally onto separate tracks like a port. So what I'm after, obviously, is a flipping Porter Studio, but in a simpler digital form. That must exist, mustn't it? That must exist. Ten Music Black Box does overdubbing but not looping, but that's okay. I mean, if you, from the point of view of Arthur doing his GCSE thing, he just wants to play the thing and then rewind to beginning and then play something alongside it, and then rewind to beginning and play something alongside it. He's just got to put together a composition, that simple. But obviously this is my usual way of trying to solve a problem, which is to go all out, try to find all the right gear for it, just to do it the once, and then it's going to sit around. Like the whole reason I owned a Boss looper pedal was because somebody asked me to play at a garden party, play guitar, and I had no idea what to do. So I thought, well, I know, I'll loop a bit and then play over the top of myself. Which kind of partially worked. I just was not practiced enough. It's something which takes a bit of skill, I think. But that's why I had the pedal, something that I did actually buy, but I can't remember for the life of me whether I still have it or where that is. So Tascam, you think? Tascam Porter Studio. Does that come up? Oh look, there's a good old Tascam Porter Studio. Yeah, fantastic. But that's not what I mean. All right, look, there's 135 quid for a DP 006 at Anderton's. Is that what we want? Probably. There's an 03 SD. Let's have a look. Oh, wow. There you go. See, if it was 8 tracks, right, he could record his band onto it. It's got a pair of mics built in the front. That's crazy. See, that's what he wants for Christmas, isn't it? How much is that then? Who do I need to call? TIAC Europe. The there's a 006. Let's have a look at that. Come on, take me to the place. I want to go to the place. I don't want to just do that. I want to go to the place. Thank you. Flipping internet doesn't know it's been born. So a 6-track digital pocket studio. Battery powered multi-tracker. See, maybe that's it. He can record his own drums then. Deluge. Oh, the Soma Cosmos. Synth Society 658. Sounds like you got a lot of stuff you need to give away. What's a Zoom MRS for Mrs. 4? A Zoom Mrs. 4. We've gone on a little bit of a side quest now, haven't we? Oh, right. Look at that. Four-track playback. Record 2 simultaneously. Cutting edge, apparently. In 2016. That's funny. Right, okay, that's given me lots to think about. Thank you for that. I do appreciate it. I'll give it some thought. I mean, I do, funny enough, someone mentioned the circuit rhythm. I do have one of those. That's interesting. There's just not enough time in the world. This is the thing. Because, you know, it needs to be straightforward. You know, the thing with the circuit rhythm is it comes with lots of bells and whistles, which would need to be learnt and taught and that kind of thing. And yeah. Is that I have this slightly frustrating relationship with my kids when it comes to gear, because I have a lot of stuff I'd love them to use and a lot of information to get across to them, and it's really hard to keep them interested long enough for me to do it. And then it just ends up with me getting slightly frustrated because they're not really paying the attention that I think they should do in order to really massively benefit from this amazing thing that I'm showing them. But you know, you can't account for somebody else's level of interest in a thing, regardless of what it is, and also their kids. What are they going to do? So you just end up with this not really getting anywhere. I mean, at Synth Picnic last time, my oldest, he sat down with the boom 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 da da chick, the Create Audio drum machine, and he probably played on it for about 40 minutes, and it was on a speaker, and it was totally brilliant, and I was just stunned at how awesome it was that he sat down and he played with it and he worked it out. And it's almost like some of his brain has grown in now that he's able to do that you can't do in your mid-teens. You just don't have the faculties and patience to sit there and work something out like that, I don't think. And yet he has now, he's grown into that and now has that ability. So I think he will appreciate gear a lot more now. But there's definitely a point I think you have to pass when that becomes a thing. For me, I guess it came a bit early, because in my mid-teens I was all over bits of electronics and music making stuff, and using a Commodore sampler, and I was using, as I say, a twin tape deck and other bits and pieces to try to get music down. But that was just me. Not everyone's the same, Not everyone's the same. Yeah, on those little Rolands as well. They do have to find things on their own. I absolutely find that. I mean, I did. When my kids were small, I thought a lot about whether they should do music lessons or whether they should be taught a particular thing or not. And I kind of shied away from it because I remember piano lessons myself as a kid and absolutely hating it, while at the same time acknowledging that little foundation of music theory that I got through that was extraordinarily useful going forward. But I wouldn't wish that pain and boredom on anyone. So my thoughts on it were simply to provide access. So stuff was available. A guitar was always left out. I've got a piano in the house. Other bits and pieces are always let them play on if they wish to. And through that, I think Arthur has found an interest in playing piano, and now massively into playing drums, which is great. He found found a drum kit in a charity shop a couple of weeks ago, so he's actually got a real drum kit as opposed to the Arbiter flats that we were given by somebody a few years ago that he's been playing on, which is brilliant. My other son has played a bit of guitar, a bit of bass, a bit of this, that and the other. Not really stuck on anything, but yeah, that's cool, man. You find what you find, you know. And I don't want to push them into something which they then reject. I need them to find their own way. At least that's been my approach to it. Yeah, he probably was at the first Synth East. Yeah, no, I think they both were. Yeah, they both were. Yeah, Ahmed, that's a really interesting question. You came in sort of just in the middle of a conversation, but I was essentially asking for a first good starter synth. It's a great question, and people have suggested the Roland Gaia, which is great. Yeah, I think that's a good one. There's a Juno as well, Juno DS. I think Roland do, which is like a good, that sort of mid-level keyboard. The Astrolabs, they're great. I really like them. It's been interesting how the conversation about them has really rocked from one side to another. People just being almost offended by their existence, and other people finding them really good. It's been quite interesting. The commentary on my YouTube video has been remarkable. I have to say, I can't quite understand why people get offended by bits of gear, but they do. So it seems. Well, look, if anybody wants a DA38, I've got a Tascam DA38 down here. It's been in this rack now for about 15 years. I used it twice. But it's just there, and I just can't seem to get rid of it. But I picked it up for free, funnily enough, so I can't vouch for whether it works. It does seem to turn on, but if anybody wants to do something on high 8 tape, it's literally just here. Then you can. Look, this is. Did I actually ever? I can't remember what I recorded on it because I haven't been able to get it to play back. I've also got a Digi 002 down here. If anybody wants that, I'd like to get rid of. Cheers, SJ. Cool. Lots of options there. Then that's fantastic. Right, so I said I was going to do a thing, didn't I? So what I was thinking of doing was to get that out of the way. I don't need this here. These are left over from my best budget synth videos. Move this stuff out of the way. I'll trip over that later. That's good. So, I'm just going to bring this down. Whoa, look at that. Look at that. See, isn't that awesome? I'm going to spin it around. Bring it, let's go all the way down. All the way down it's coming. Right, so what was I doing? Yeah, I'm going to put this here so I'm still talking to it. Yeah, that's good. Put that over there. Right. Here it is, a modular, right? Modular. So come on, speak, man. So I find envelopes really difficult. Often envelopes in Modular, something which drives me nuts. I don't understand why it has to be as difficult as it is, and why you're always farting around with this 4-stage envelope when you don't ever use it. Don't ever use it. Just use the back end of it. Well, use most of the time. And I was watching a video that Milo Melodies did the other day on his latest build of his techno system based around the Droid system, which is quite extraordinary, I have to say. But it wasn't all of that impressed me. What I noticed that he was using the Percal as his envelopes and the VCA all rolled into one, and I hadn't thought about that. I'd used the Percal a lot in the past for shaping hi-hats and snare drums, using it literally as a percussion envelope, just running some noise into it and using that and adjusting the Watsits. That was really good, a nice way of making some interesting variations on rhythms. And it just occurred to me watching his video that, hang on, it's just a decay envelope. It's a decay envelope with a VCA built in. You can plug it in the top, trigger it, and it comes out the bottom. And you get an envelope out the back as well to run the filter. Flipping heck! I thought, that's exactly what I've wanted all this time. So I thought I just plugged it in before we came on air, and I thought I might give that a bit of a go. At the same time, bringing the Sycamore back in, although I can't remember what I was doing with that now. So it's all a bit chaotic and probably not tuned very well. But what I thought I'd do, I would see if I can get that to work, and then I was going to, because I've taken the Digitac out of here. Where is that? Unknown at the moment, because I did a little video for, is it out yet, the Bow Beats video? I don't know. Anyway, I did a little video on it for someone, and so I put it somewhere else. I don't have a drum system, so what I'm trying to get to is that one of the things I've never done on Pounds Pro Workshop is use it as a drum machine, and I really should. And so I thought I might give that a bit of a go. Or I could just drink my beer. So let me just get something running to start with. Yeah, see, this is one of those situations where you wire in a bit of Modular and it's a bit crap. I'm working with this Gemini 24i2 as well, which is from AJ8 Synth. Now, the AJ8 Synth marketing guy, would really love me to do some videos on his stuff, and I sort of keep trying, and I have done a couple, and other ones I've struggled with. It's just like I don't know that I fully appreciate everything that goes on with it. It's just there's something about the enormity of it where there's almost too much to deal with, which is probably brilliant for someone who really likes to get right into the nitty gritty of a filter. But I'm finding it quite heavy going. But I'm persevering, and I hope to get there, and I hope to unpack these things to understand what it's all about. Anyway, so this evening I'm going to use the two sides of the filter, I think, through the Percal was the plan, with my two oscillators over here, and just see whether I can get that to work in any kind of way. I'm going to take that out of there because that ain't working, and I'm going to plug that into the second output of the Sycamore to try to get both of those things running at the same time. Perfect. See, that's better. I wish I had perfect pitch or something. I'm just forever trying to tune stuff. Just gradually turning it through and through and through. Oh, there. I got it. I found it. Look at that. Now, what I need to try to do is try to work out how I get these filters to work properly. Alright, that might have done it. Can't get it to work on this second side. How do I do that? Trying to use them separately. What the heck is that? All right. Don't need that anymore. I'm not using that one. Bear with me. Alright, just checking that's coming through. Right, so what am I trying to prove here? Nothing, really, other than the fact that the perk all works. That's kind of all I was after. I'm not completely satisfied. But I can put that down nice and low. And then I do have the ability to mix on it as well, sort of, kind of, because it has a VCA. See, that's nice and simple. I like that. Well, while we're here, let's have a go at the trifecta. Can you? I don't know how much you can see. If I pull this in, is that going to be of any use whatsoever? What am I looking at? Looking at this. You can see that. Can you see that? Not really. Let me try to bring that in a little bit. So I'm trying to look at this. This is a effects module called Isu's Trifecta. Oh yeah, sorry about the zoom. That's what happens when I turn the focus, right? I forgot that translates. Yeah, it's very exciting. So anyway, so I'm going to take the output that at the moment it's going through a reverb over here, and I'm going to plug it into the inputs on the trifecta, and we're going to have a bit of a fiddle with that, just with the the inspirational melody that you can hear. Let's see what comes out the other end. Yeah, see, now it's a party. So what this is and it's an effects module with a chain of three slots, 3 effects slots. So you can have 3 things going on at once, which is remarkably unusual. So in the top one, you can have all sorts of different things. Let me go to that one and turn that off. How do I turn that off, do you think? I haven't spent enough time on this quite yet. Oh, there we go. Killed it. So yeah, you can have 3 effects in 3 different slots, and each time you load one up, you've then got a few different controls over it. Some of them have something, some of them don't. So there's a ping pong, Professor X. I'm not sure what that is really. A reverse delay, which is quite nice. Ring modulation. No one knows what that does. Some shimmer. Sort of reverby type things. Should I have a clock? Yeah, probably should. Let's give it a clock. Alright, tremolo. Uh, 2112 Tintin asking about 3 effects, is that unusual? It shouldn't be, but I'm finding that it really is. As in, often when you get an effects module, you can only run 1 effect at a time. And you might have 50 effects in there, but I can only have chorus or delay or something else. And I find that immensely frustrating. So the fact that there's 3 I can run at the same time is very, very pleasing. So I can have a reverb and a delay and a chorus. You know, I think that's a good thing, which would be normal, I think. But in Eurorack, it just seems to be the way things are done. You have 1 thing at a time. But there's obviously other things, I'm sure, that do it. Anyway, tremolo. Oh, there's none. Look. Auto pan. Something weird. Compressor. Chorus. Crush. Delay. Distortion. I got fed up with playing with all the things now. Little tape. reverb's really quite nice. So then I can go down, ooh, heck. I can go down to the next one and enable it and put something else in. Like so. And you've got control over 8 CV inputs, you've got 4 knobs to play with that can be tuned to anything. And I can add a third. See now, when I'm talking about using 3 effects, that's great. I can't think what to put in now. So I've got too much going on. Auto pan? Is that nice? Not really. There you go. Whoop. So that was fun. Woom, woom, woom. Can't remember what the point was again. Oh yeah, I was just playing with the Perkle, trying to see whether that was a solution to something that I was attempting to use it for, and it kind of is. It kind of is. Sycamore has also given me a lot of pleasure at the moment. I want to get deeper into that with the expander I'm going to add to it, which is great. Although I mean it was a bit sort of classical in its nature, and I need to work out how to make it groove, how to make it swing, how to make it find less of a rigid path. But then a lot of that was to do with the triggers I was feeding it, of course, as opposed to anything else. So lots of interesting things to explore there. 4Cs, yeah. I'm enjoying its presence. I haven't looked at it in any depth, but I have turned it on a few times and done things like that, had it droning and find a note and have it moving around, and that's been very interesting. So purely its existence has been cool so far, even if I haven't fully dived into the depths of it as yet. Thanks. Cannot find a UK distributor for the Trifica. Okay, I'm not sure at the moment. I'm sure something will come up at some point. I noticed that DivKid has one in his case, so I guess the race is on for me to get video out first. There's no chance. I have no time for a week or two. But who knows? Who knows? But I'm sure then it will start becoming a bit more available, perhaps. Nice to get some finished quality modules in the market. Okay. Now, someone did ask about or mention something about AI, and then everyone assumed that I'd missed it. We can talk about that if you like. We've got half an hour left, potentially. I'm really happy to talk about it. I really enjoy it as a subject. I have multiple feelings about it. It's been quite interesting, the commentary on my YouTube video on my Molten Monthly, where I gave over quite a large section to it because I just started talking and just kept talking. And it's been interesting how there's been a really nice bunch of people, as in a large bunch of people, saying, yeah, that's kind of how I feel, or yeah, no, that's an interesting way to think about it, and appreciated my thoughts on it, which is lovely. It's always nice to get that. But there's also a handful of people who just think I'm the devil, and that's been interesting also, because I don't remember really having a clear position. I think I shared some thoughts, some of which were going, yeah, this is really good, and some of which going, oh, I don't know what's going to happen here. So I have very mixed thoughts about the whole thing. But there were, a number of people who felt that evidently I was very pro AI, generative AI. I guess we should probably qualify it when we talk about it all the time, because it's going to get messy out there. And it was, people strongly suggesting that I need to rethink my thoughts on this matter. I'm going, really? I didn't know that I really had any thoughts. Other than, a stream of thoughts and stuff about it, not a position, So it was interesting. I felt people were trying to tell me off, and I wasn't really sure what it was I'd done wrong. So that's nice. I mean, does anyone have any hard and fast thoughts? Outside of the it was all nonsense, we're all going to die, we've all lost our jobs kind of thing. Does anyone have anything slightly more nuanced than that, or any experience of using AI yourself in your music? I don't care about ChatGPT and asking it to find you a recipe for blueberry pie or something of that nature. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about actually using AI within the context of making music, and how we feel about that, because it's a very potentially emotive subject at the moment. Of course it is, because people are worried about I wouldn't say unnecessarily worried, because there's always things to worry about, and people are losing sleep over it. Whereas at the same time, I really feel we've been here before. Now I know, every new technology is different, and we feel the next one that comes along, and this is it. This is the one that's going to break everything or ruin everything, or do something to us that we weren't wanting it to do. And perhaps there is something different about AI. Maybe there is something bigger and more horrible about it all. I don't know. What I do feel is that we have no control over it. We can hide from it, of course, and not use it. That's our choice, absolutely. But I don't think we can put the genie back in the bottle. I don't think we can litigate or sue companies out of existence because they're stealing all our stuff. The stuff's already stolen. I don't think there's any question about that. I think that it has already, it is already happening, or has already happened. Yeah. However, I'll share a little bit more of my experience with it. A couple of things that have struck me. First of all, I'm a freelancer, right? I do freelance writing for things, and I am overworked and underpaid, so I'm always looking for other bits of work. And a lot of the work, particularly via LinkedIn at the moment, is all AI based. It's all AI training. People are looking for, or some mysterious, nefarious companies are looking for people to train large language models all the time. It's a constant stream of these sorts of jobs. And I've spent a bit of time over the last few months looking into it because I find it interesting. Technology is interesting to me. AI is interesting to me. And so having a look at how that works and what people do is fascinating to me. And so I've looked into it. I've applied. I have done some work, and it's interesting. The first thing that's really interesting is how absolutely chaotic it is. They don't really have any clue what they're doing, so it seems, or how to treat people. And it's the whole space is an entire sort of language and system all of itself, which is largely impenetrable from the outside, which is a shame, because if nothing else, what AI needs is a diverse data pool. It needs lots of people with lots of experience excuse me, in order to improve what AI is thinking about and how it's coming to its conclusions about stuff. Now, I'm not talking about music in particular. This is very general. So don't get funny with me. I'm just trying to share some experience. So I've signed up with a couple of different AI firms, one of which has tried to give me work. And the mad thing about it is it says, hey, there's this thing you can do. You could be really good at this. It matches up with all of your expertise. Great. Okay, I can do that. It's like comparing videos or comparing audio samples or comparing different prompts and then trying to pull out the one that's more accurate, that kind of thing. Training AI to be better. It feels quite a wholesome but potentially useful thing to do. But the problem with it is it gives you a project and says, you match up with this perfectly. You go, great. It says, right, first of all, you need to do 20 minutes of health and safety training. Then you need to do 40 minutes of rubric training. And then you need to do another 20 minutes of an AI interview, blah, blah, blah. And you go, all right, okay. So you go through that, you do the training, you watch the video, you do the thing, and then you work on that and you go, oh, okay, so this is how it works. And that's quite interesting. I understand how to do that. Okay, I can point all that out. You go through like about an hour's worth of training and rigmarole and bits and pieces, and you get to the end and you do the little assessment, and for reasons you can't work out, you completely failed, and then you're ineligible. So you spend all this time trying to work this stuff out, trying to get interested and to contribute to this situation, and then you end up being ineligible. And the most frustrating thing is you get no feedback as to why. Now, you could have got a question wrong. Fair enough, you got something wrong, you identify something wrong, then you're kicked out. But you're never going to learn without knowing what it was that you did wrong. So if I'm writing some kind of prompt in order to match up with something, in order to because some of the tasks have been things like, You have to ask a prompt. You then have to identify which prompt is best that AI gave you. And then you have to write a perfect prompt. Now, the key to all of this is that you have to absolutely know that subject like the back of your hand, the thing that you're asking about. And that's not remotely made clear. I only worked this out afterwards thinking, I can only ask about something that I absolutely know the answer to in order to be able to do the perfect prompt, a perfect result, a perfect response. And they're expecting idiot humans like me to provide a perfect response to a prompt that you've also thought up. I mean, the whole thing is nuts. And like I said, I'm sure I gave a perfect response and a perfect prompt and a perfect this, that and the other. And yet it says, no, yes, that's no good. So you spend all this time trying to do this thing and end up not actually doing any tasks and therefore not getting paid anything. So I get the feeling that these places that are trying to train these models are only going to attract and only going to keep and employ a particular sort of person who's able to navigate their way through what it is they're asking and is successful in it. And so we're just going to end up with a really narrow AI only knowing and understanding a point of view from a very narrow subset of people. So that doesn't fill me with any confidence whatsoever. The other project I've been involved in has been of a medical nature, which is a bit weird, but it's been interesting in that myself and my wife have recorded conversations which are then fed into the AI in order to help it improve understanding medical consultations and the nomenclature and the way people talk and that kind of thing. And that's been quite interesting. It's been quite long, and we kind of hit this problem where we're trying desperately to follow the rules. And the rules are very much, you must do this, you must have it like this, it must be like this, anything that's not like this will be rejected instantly. Right, okay. And one of the rules was you must always have speaker 1 and speaker 2 remain the same gender all the way through everything that you do. It was very, very explicit, highlighted in yellow and underlined. So that's fine. So my wife was speaker 1, I was speaker 2. And she was the doctor, essentially, and I was the patient. We went through all of these recordings. And then there was one where I just happened to be pregnant. And so we were talking about that. And it's like, well, the rules say I've got to stay as I am. And I think, well, I think in terms of diversity, it's absolutely possible for someone with a male voice to be pregnant. And so we carried on. And they can't cope with it. They can't. They keep coming back saying, we can't accept this. I said, well, we followed the rules. No, well, we can't have a male voice being pregnant. Well, you can, if you open your mind a little bit, you can. And we followed the rules. So we'd very much like to get paid, please. And we're in this situation where we're just kind of sort of waiting to see what's going to happen. They've said we should do it again. And we said, well, we will if you pay us. Because something else I've discovered in looking into this is that it's also very, very scammy. And there's rumours or thoughts out there that the companies offering these jobs, all they're doing is they're setting up these first 20 minutes to an hour's worth of training part of it, that they're just actually using that and then saying to people that you're ineligible, and so they don't actually have to pay anyone. So they're kind of scamming people who are looking for work to do those first bits and then not paying them. Similarly with this audio recording thing, there's lots of people online saying they never got paid for any of it. And it's actually just all being scammed, which of course it is, because why would we think that people training AIs would somehow be on the level when the whole thing is about stealing and the whole thing is about taking things and absorbing information without consent or permission, So there you go. That's mildly fascinating stuff, but I still have hope that the conversation thing that my wife and I did will get paid in the end. There is possibility. They haven't broken off communication with us, and we're hoping that may still happen, which would be great because we put a bunch of work in and would like to get compensated for that. But we shall see. So what I'm saying, I guess, is just that the stuff behind the scenes is chaos. It's chaos. And it just makes you wonder about the validity of the whole thing. While at the same time, I've been through this thing, I've been given access to all of the different AIs. full versions, and it's been fascinating talking to them, working with them, giving it information and seeing what comes out the other side. It has been thoroughly interesting. Now, I don't want to spend this whole time talking about non-music AI, but that was just some thoughts. I just need to grab some water from somewhere. Turn my heater off for a bit. Was that of interest to anyone at all? You've been training it. Yes, I have. For nothing. Yes, exactly that. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. The validation that it gives you is extraordinary. I mean, I had to go and pick up my son's car from Wales a few weeks ago, and I sat on a train for like 8 hours. And for 5 of those hours on one of the stretches, I sat there with this AI that, a proper fully paid up one, as I've got through doing this work. And I spent the whole time discussing this board game idea that I've got. And it was totally extraordinary having this conversation. It's not that it generated anything new or came up with anything particular. It was just a brilliant way of working through the ideas I had in my head, which I was finding very difficult to get out and onto paper. And it was a fascinating thing, very useful. I could have used a human being for this, but human beings are a bit crap, and no one would have listened to me ranting on about this thing for as long as this AI did. Anyway, the reason I'm saying this is because its responses were just brilliant. I mean, is obviously for someone who's British like myself, they were just hilarious, because it spent the whole time going, oh, wow, that's a fabulous idea, it would say. And it would say something and then go, blah, 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 blah. And I'd go, well, no, that's not really what I was thinking. I was thinking perhaps if you throw a dice at this point, then you could do this. And it'd go, oh, yes, that's perfect. What a wonderful idea. How about, have you thought about this, this, and this? And I'd go, well, no, actually, I thought we could draw a card at that point and that could then offset the blink. And they go, oh, that's just genius. And every single time it responded to me, it just massaged my ego, told me how wonderful I was, and went with my latest idea. It was, I mean, one imagines in America they love that sort of thing, but for us over here, it's just worthy of piss take, really. It's just hilarious. So AI needs to just calm it down a little bit and not be quite so affirming all the time. And, you very much felt that if you said, oh yeah, and then I think I might just kill myself, it'd go, oh, that's a brilliant idea, why don't you do that? That is where we seem to be. Voices can't get pregnant. Yeah. Yeah, no, I am the devil. No, it's technology, man. I'm interested in technology. Why wouldn't I be? It's a fascinating area of stuff and things, and I can totally see how useful it can be in many situations, but also not. I get that. Yeah, why can't it listen to the radio? I don't know. Yeah, I did some work, but we're not obviously going to do any more. But I was naive. But I mean, as a freelancer, I'm very used to doing work before I get paid. That's completely normal. So it never occurred to me that I was kind of being invited into a scam. And I don't know that I am yet. It's just, slightly embarrassing, and we're seeing how it goes. So let's see. Ken, you made it. Oh no. Just at the wrong time. Yeah, there's all sorts of things you have to worry about the validity of. I mean, I had this experience when I wrote an article for Perfect Circuit about the Casio DS range of digital guitars. Because as with, because Google has now got an AI right at the front, I was Googling various things about it, and AI kept telling me information which was wrong all the time. But it's not its fault. It was reading the internet which was wrong. And that's going to be our biggest challenge, is that at some point AI is going to be all the information that we have, and who knows what's right or not. I mean, largely it will be right, but it's not going to be right about everything. That's the worry, I think. No, we're still talking about it. But yeah. When I was talking to somebody today about how, Max Headroom, wasn't he the first AI? I mean, obviously it was a complete fabrication, but haven't we been doing this for ages? I mean, as I said in my video, that what I like about it is how it makes computers conversational. Now, I've got a caveat about that. Oh, yeah, I had the other thing to tell you as well. Anyway, okay, before I run out of time, because I get the feeling that 10 o'clock is always my cut-off time. What was I saying? Yeah, this idea that we talk to a computer and it kind of responds in a sensible way. I mean, I like the idea of being able to say to Clippy in Word, for instance, that yes, I am writing a letter. Could you format it like this? Could you stick two columns in the middle and a table and populate it with this? And can you pull in all the information from here, stick it there and take this image in? I like the idea of being able to do that, with the caveat that I don't want to talk to my computer. I don't want to sit in the coffee shop talking to my computer. That's ridiculous, Isn't there an app that's just come out recently for Ableton Live that allows you to talk to it in order to set things up? Now, certainly for people who are visually impaired or have other difficulties in using our usual bits and pieces, then being able to talk to software to get it to do things is brilliant. But for many of us, I think having to sit there in your office or your shed or your attic or your studio, that some people call them, and talk to your gear just seems odd, doesn't it? But maybe that's something we're going to have to get over. Yeah. Oh, yeah, no, yeah, not saying that Max Headroom invented AI. No, absolutely not. It was just an 80s protrusion of this head, this thing that you talk to that was digital. Yeah, but of course, HAL in 2001, etc., etc. Of course. But that's just the one that popped up in the conversation this morning, which I thought was quite fascinating. Yeah, so there was a thing I meant to say, because it means I can name drop, which is always nice. So, when I talk about we've been here before, we're forever arguing and fighting over the next piece of technology, which is always going to make musicians put musicians out of work. Every time it happens, every time we have the conversation. And is AI different is one of the questions. That's a more important question, I think, than whether AI is going to ruin everything. The question should be looking at is how different is it to a previous situation? Because I remember I built computers when computers were new, and I built sampling systems when samplers were new, newish, the sort of thing that we're talking about now. So I built a Giga Studio system, for instance, for Sir George Martin. I built him one, installed it into his house, and he wrote or arranged that album he did with all of those celebrities of reworking Beatles songs. He arranged all of that on this Giga Studio computer that I built him. Fantastic. So hold that into your head if you like. So that was sampling, right? That was sampled instruments, strings, orchestras, things like that. Round about the same time, I built a Giga Studio system for David Arnold, who was scoring one of the Pierce Brosnan Bond movies at the time, and I delivered it to him up at, was it Air Studios? One of those up in North London studios. I think it was Air. And we had a conversation about it, because around that time, because I was running Carillon Audio Systems at the time, I was being contacted by a newspaper, I think it was The Times, that was doing a piece on how computer technology is putting musicians out of work. And I was able to have a conversation with David about it, because I was wondering how to respond to it, because that wasn't what we were about at all. In building Carillon Audio Systems, we wanted to enable musicians. It wasn't about replacing musicians with anything. It was about enabling them to make the music that they wanted to make. And his attitude was that he had a Giga Studio system to enable him to put together a score and make it sound good, that he could take to the producers and say, look, this is how it could sound with an orchestra. And it gave him the ability to convince producers to book an orchestra for real, was being able to use this emulation of an orchestra to do that. And I thought that was really interesting. So it was very much, he was using this sampling technology, which the hysteria told us was replacing musicians. And he was actually using it to employ musicians. And it made it much more likely that he could do so because of its authenticity and because of how good it sounded. Now, I guess comes a point where there's no advantage to getting humans to do it, I suppose. There comes a point when the sampling technology is so good that it sounds indistinguishable from an orchestra, so therefore you don't need the orchestra. I guess there becomes a tipping point when perhaps that happens. Does that happen? I don't know. But up until that point, perhaps, then tools like this, these new tools that are supposed to ruin everything, it ain't necessarily so, you know. And actually technology, more often than not, is empowering as opposed to disempowering, as opposed to hobbling. Largely, I think. Now, that's not always the case for everyone. There's always somebody who loses. Yeah, one of the points I made on my Molten Monthly was that the place that's in danger is this middle ground. These mid-level musicians, not the ones who are touring and out there selling giving their whole souls to an audience, but the ones who actually make the day-to-day utility music that is so prevalent, and a place where people can make a living out of making music, even if it drains your soul of any kind of creativity because you're just doing it to order. Is that a problem? No, I'm not saying that's a problem. I'm just saying that that's kind of a reality of it. And it, in some ways, you could say the utility making of music is something which we could perhaps give up. Now, while some people are making a living out of it, people were making livings out of basket weaving, out of things before automation. And then automation came along and things were able to be made quicker and cheaper without that human person. That human person is out of a job, but they usually go off and find themselves something else to do. Maybe we're at a point where we're going to shed a whole bunch of people. But, there's something in this, in that's almost like a natural evolution of music and music production and music technology. It always happens. You have one guy who's making all of the music for everybody, that one composer, and then, something happens and it gets easier. You get the printing press and you can print music so other people can make music and get it printed rather than having to have it handwritten. And so perhaps that one person who had all the power now has less power and more people have the power in their hands. And then you get tape technology and more people get a go. Then digital technology and more people get access to that thing, And there's so much of it is leeching on what came before and making that more accessible to other people. Now, I'm not saying that that's morally or ethically right. It's just what occurs. You have people making a living from writing presets for synthesizers. People making a living sampling somebody else's synthesizer and selling that as a sample pack. Is that ethical? Is that... We've created that industry and we allow that to happen and we've decided that that's useful. But isn't that undermining what went before? Aren't you undermining, taking work away from the person who's built that synthesizer because you can produce a sampled version of it much, much cheaper? I'm just, throwing these thought processes out there that when we come to the point of AI is doing something for us on our behalf or instead of us, isn't that just kind of the same as we've been doing? We've been, pulling work from other people because I've now got a laptop that I can do this on, whereas the other person, you had to pay for studio time or you had to pay for real musicians. I can do it virtually. I can do it cheaper. I can undercut you. Then somebody else comes along with just an iPad and they can do it. Somebody else comes along and so on and so forth. Each layer putting another person potentially out of work or making that more difficult for that person. And now we've got AI, which perhaps is going to cut the legs away. Maybe it has run its course and that kind of level of music making, that kind of day-to-day utility type music making no longer needs to be done by humans. Maybe that's the reality. And that's really, really sad for the groups of people who have managed to scrape a living through doing that, But is that just the evolution of music technology? And hasn't that already been going on time and time and time again? Maybe. I don't know. Look, 5 minutes left now. So throw in your last minute comments to that thought then. Yeah, how fast? That's a good, yeah, it's a really good point. It is happening fast. Yeah. 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 I mean, on iRobot with, talking about Asimov, back to Will Smith, of course, that great sci-fi protagonist, asking the robot, asking Alan Tudyk, it's bound to be Alan Tudyk, isn't it? Can a robot create a piece of art, as he's sitting there creating a piece of art? And you're going, maybe, is it art? Is it not? That's the big question people are having at the moment. And is that useful and is that interesting? I mean, I had a bit of a play on Suno, and it is amazing. It is extraordinary. But for whom is it extraordinary? It's an extraordinary piece of technology that can bang out a tune to your prompt. But am I going to listen to that more than once? I mean, I confess, that little tune it did about wire turns and knobs, something or other it sang, tune in, I can't remember. I've played it a few times. I think it's quite nice. But what's its purpose? What is its intention? What can you do with that? Now, someone is going to make a load of money. That's always going to be the case, but it's never going to be you or me. It's not going to be us fiddling around with our synthesizers and stuff. We're not going to be the people who make any money from any of it, But there will be people for whom are driven by the idea of revenue and money and success and all those sorts of things that are going to take that sort of technology and going to stick it out there for everywhere, I mean, what I think would be interesting to know would be people who write music for TikTok, for instance. Are they all out of a job now? And what was their job? And did they make money from it? I mean, I know lots of people have created library music for Google. I wonder if they make money from it. How much money? How much money do they stand to lose if AI does that? Because I have no idea. I have no clue in how people make money from that sort of thing. So those are going to be the interesting areas. I mean, we're never, ever, I don't think we're ever talking about replacing Radiohead or Taylor Swift with AI. I don't think that's the point. I don't think anybody wants or needs that. I don't think that's of interest to anyone. But all of the stuff, like, for instance, a shop, right, that pays PRS a load of money to have the radio on in the background or to have a Christmas jingle playlist going on, they could probably go to Suno and say, create me a playlist of 50 Christmassy songs, and they just stick it on. I mean, elevator music, who would ever employ a musician to write elevator music again after something like that? You just want something that's sitting in the background. Then that maybe is where it's going to be tricky, because I know people get royalties and stuff from PRS regularly, and that's perhaps all that's going to disappear. Maybe. I don't know. There's just so many areas. It's such a vast field, so many different ways that people are making money from music, and there's a definite danger of that being cut away at the knees. It is interesting. It is interesting. And I'm not trying to say that's right or wrong or ethical or not ethical. I just think it's interesting because we're in a very, very interesting time to see where this is going to go. I don't see it going anywhere good in terms of art as a whole, in terms of what AI does. But I think it could be massively inspirational and motivational for humanity as a whole to think harder and more about our art, and to have these conversations. I think these are important. I think it's important as to what we decide what it is that we think is important for ourselves. Anyway, yeah. Yeah, all of that. It's all end up being in its own loop. Gary, great. That's all we all want to do, really. Just noodle on guitars into an ambient space. It's just an absolute joy. It's a wonderful thing to do, and good luck to you. But I need to head off now because Jason's going to be putting his pajamas on, and he's going to appreciate your presence. So yeah, I'll sort of bring this to a close. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm not trying to say that these are the thoughts you should be having on AI. I would like to talk about it. I'm happy to talk about it. We'll continue to talk about it. I'm certainly not scared or frightened of it. I find it fascinating and also troubling. Absolutely. But I choose to find it a push into doing more and better music and art for the sake of humanity and the universe and everything. I think it's really shown. I think the pushback against the images and the videos that have been put on social media has been really interesting in how people. I think it's pushing people to unplug more, to take less notice. I mean, I can't trust social media anymore. Not that you could. You know, you had this sinking feeling that you couldn't trust it, but now you really can't, because there's nothing on there that's of any value anymore. And so I'm using it less. And that's really interesting. You know, that's good. I think perhaps what AI has done is burst the bubble of all this misinformation that we think we've been getting. And I now need to find reliable sources all the time, because they're the only ones I can rely on. I can't rely on the internet anymore. So that has become an interesting thing. And I think there's a general movement building of becoming more present, to becoming more real. And that's brilliant. That's a good thing. This is what all this is all about, you know. That's what making music has always been about. If you feel that making music is writing a prompt and feeding on the output, then I think that's very sad. However, I will say that if you're using AI as a tool to your own creativity, then I see nothing wrong with that at all. It's no different to asking Ozone to master my track, because that's AI fueled. Just it analyzes your track and then goes, this will sound better. And you go, yeah, it kind of does. I'm just going to turn everything down. Yeah, or you're using Splice to find a sample. Searching through Splice to find a sample for your track, you know, and you're going through sample after sample after sample. If you asked an AI to say, can I have a drum beat that does this? Because I can't seem to be able to do it. And it goes, whoop, there you go. That seems fine to me. That's no different to pressing a mutate button on a sequencer, or asking for a pattern, or using a preset on something else. I see those things as being very, very equivalent. So it all just depends on intention and level and usage and all those sorts of things. I guess if you're really going to nail down into how those things are different, then there is somewhere back there someone who is being paid for that sample that I've downloaded, possibly, whereas no one is getting paid for what the AI is doing. So I guess that is the wafer thin differentiation, that maybe that's the thing that ruins it all. Maybe it is. But in terms of the way we use the tools within our technology, I think it's really hard to see how those things are different, you know. Anyway, that's another thought. Stop thinking. Yeah, exactly. No one's going to come after you. Yeah. Yeah, cool. Anyway, I'm going to need to leave it there. I'm overrunning, don't mean to. So thank you. I've got lots of things. Well, obviously I'm far too busy to do any of these things, but I might look into little multi-track recorders and think about that as a Christmas present for my boy. If you're a manufacturer out there of a really interesting sort of either a looper or a Porter Studio style thing, then send me one. and I'll do a review of it. Well, I'll get my kid to do a review of it. That'd be brilliant, and you'll be famous, and you'll sell tons of them because I said it was great. So do that. That's how this system works. Yes, I can be bought very, very simply at any time. Isn't Chompy a looper as well? Yeah, possibly. Yeah. So yeah, that's it. Good. Thanks ever so much for staying with me. That's been great. Synth Picnic, 13th of December. Synth East. There are plenty of tickets still available. Go and check that out. It's been great having you here. I've thoroughly enjoyed myself just talking like a crazy person. So thanks for staying with me. And in the meantime, go make some tunes. Which one is it? Is it that one? Is it that one? I don't know. What happens if I press that one? Oh, that puts me over there. That's not it. What's that one? I can't see. Is that the one? No, because that's the oh, gee whiz. This one? That's the one. Thanks everyone, and thanks ever so much for people who sent me money. That's lovely. That's really, really helpful. Thank you very much. All the best.